Nicole Starbuck is a spiritual mentor and life coach, empowering women to become the best version of themselves. She helps high-achieving women go from anxious to aligned so they can experience more peace, joy, and love. By showing her clients how to align with their higher selves, they are able to achieve their goals, manifest more wealth and abundance, and make their dreams come true. So Nicole, welcome, aka Psychic Starbuck, which I think is such an epic Instagram handle.
Well, thanks for having me, Veronica. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my experiences as a highly sensitive person and empath.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's dive right into the questions. So my first question for you is, how did you discover your intuitive gifts? I did some digging on your website, and I know on your About page, it said that you kind of realized you had them when you were like 9 years old. So can you give us a little taste of what that was like?
Yes, that's actually a funny story. So I was in the fourth grade and walking out of class at the end of the day to get picked up by my mother. I was walking underneath a tree and suddenly I thought, a bird is going to poop on me. Like I just felt it so strong that this bird was going to poop on me. And no joke, like a second later, it really did. It pooped on
Oh,
me and landed on my arm. And I just remember standing there in such disarray and such shock, like, oh my gosh, what just happened? I totally just called that. And for me, it was kind of scary and also like really gross because like no one wants that on their arm. So went to the bathroom, cleaned that up, and I didn't really think anything else of it until I started seeing other coincidences like that happening in my life where I would think something's going to happen and then it would. Like I remember even thinking my friend was going to walk into the utility closet at school and was going to have the brooms fall on her, and then that next day it did. So just stuff like that happening. And then that was early childhood, but I can recall other instances of that later on as well.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So my next question is, was your family supportive of your sensitivity, of your gifts? And if so, how did they show their support? And if not, how were you able to grow to accept them and use them to help others? I will repeat those questions because I realized that was pretty long.
That's okay. So the first question was, how was my family supportive or not of my sensitivity? I really break that down into two sections, right? One being sensitivity, the second being intuition or psychic gifts and abilities. And as far as sensitivity was concerned, like my family always knew that I was really sensitive, that I could like feel things that other people were feeling, and just was overall like more prone to feeling anxious or feeling depressed because I was so sensitive. It's a lot of feelings to be processing. So they were always very patient with me in that respect. But as far as the intuition goes, like I was always brought up that like psychic work and intuition, like it's kind of like woo woo or even witchcraft or evil. So I was always like pushed away from that side of things. I was brought up in a religious home to really read the Bible and pray and trust in God, which I'm all for, trusting in higher power. But there was not a lot of support with the intuitive side of things.
Okay, so interesting. So, in terms of like, because I feel like I need to clarify this as well within myself, but in terms of sensitivity, it sounds like you're pretty empathic. Would you say
Yeah.
that? Or,
Yeah.
okay.
So I would say, and it depends like what categories you want to use, like HSP, highly sensitive person, or empath, being able to feel what other people are feeling. Other names for it are clairsentient, where you can feel like know things by feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of the clairs, do you feel like you align more with like a specific one, or do you feel like you have all of them very strongly?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I align more with clairsentient and clairvoyant. I know there's also clairaudient, where you can hear things and know, but more so with just the mindset and the feeling of things.
Okay. So, in terms of these intuitive abilities, like for example, the clairs, what was the experience or experiences that helped you to learn how to trust them, how to accept them?
It was such a long journey, honestly, because I would see things and know things ahead of time and felt like I couldn't do anything about it. It just created a lot of anxiety in my life all through my childhood and teens and up through my 20s, actually. Just felt a lot of anxiety. And looking back, I can see that I actually get that gift from my mother. Like, my mother also has a lot of anxiety. So I also feel that she has that intuitive gift, but just hasn't been shown how to develop it. But it wasn't until last year, actually, I attended a spiritual retreat, and there was another energy worker there who could see people's gifts and help attune those gifts. If you're familiar with energy work, being able to tap into our activation codes and our energy web. So she was able to do that for me. Like, she could see that I had this intuitive gift, and she was able to attune me energetically to bring that out more. And after that experience, after like realizing, hey, this is a viable gift, this is actually something really like powerful, I was then stronger in being upfront. I actually, like, that same week, changed my Instagram handle to Psychic Starbuck, like came out of the woo closet, so to speak, and was also very honest with my family and my mother specifically, and sharing, I know that I've had this history of being a very sensitive person, and actually this is where that gift comes from, and this is how, how transformative it is in my life and in other people's lives as well.
That's so good to hear. And I have this theory, like, I have this theory, but the more that I meet people who have the tendency to be anxious, because I definitely was like that,
Mhm.
um, the more sensitive they tend to be.
Mhm.
Um, they just don't realize it, and they get labeled as like paranoid or crazy because and it's not their fault. It's just that they're taking on so much and they don't know that they are. And there's no like real I guess like tools that are acceptable outside of like medicine to help them deal with the underlying cause of what is causing the anxiety. Do you remember the modality of energy work she like uh like aligns with or specifies with to have done
She
that?
said it's some sort of like quantum energy work. I'll have to connect you with her. Her name is Sarah Ashley Wheeler, and she's on Instagram as well. She calls herself an energy queen, and she's incredible. More advanced than Reiki, but it was something where she was like doing activation codes. So
Mm-hmm.
activation codes, I guess, would be a modality. Um, but she was signing in light language and like opening up these activation codes within my field.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I've not heard of that one.
It was new for me too, but
Yeah.
I witnessed her do it for another woman at the retreat, and then she worked on me next, and like I could feel the shift, like I could feel the change happening within me, and then now being more empowered and like really owning it.
Oh my God. Well, congrats on that, because that's a big
Thank
deal.
you. Yeah, it's a big deal.
A big deal. Okay, so my next question is, was there ever a point where you wanted to be normal, instead of who you really were? And if so, what were some of the ways that you tried to normalize yourself?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's such a good question. And I was reflecting on this when you had sent me the questions, and I never really felt like I fit in, like ever. Like, looking back on my childhood, even my first memories of like kindergarten start developing memories, and I always felt different. I always felt set apart, and it was okay. Like, I was fine, kind of being a loner with not very many friends, especially in elementary school, because you guys are all in the same class, and you do all the same things. So I had like a few friends I was close with, but it wasn't until middle school that I really felt that, and middle school is so hard, all those hormones and adolescence. But I was separated from the few friends that I had because we had different lunch hours. And
Mm.
so I was thrown in an environment where I didn't really know anyone. I didn't know how to fit in and socialize. And that was really when it hit me that like I wanted to be different, that I didn't want to be as sensitive or empathic, because it, like, people didn't understand. They didn't understand me and my sensitivity. So
Yeah,
I would just be quiet, like sit in the corner and just listen to what everyone's saying, just eat like macaroni. It's just like
I can relate
not
to that.
not participate, because I would be like, they would look at me weird, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, I was that kid too.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. It's so, how did you, I guess, what tools did you develop at that age to like cope? Like was there anything healthy? Because like for me, I ended up like going to books a lot and like reading like a ton of stuff because it helped me escape. I was able to like leave through my imagination. But for you, was it like music? Was it reading? Was it drawing?
Yeah, it's funny you say books, because that didn't really connect for me until just now, that that was a form of escape in a good way.
Yeah.
But the idea of fantasy means we can act out our imagination in a very healthy way. But definitely books. Like I would read all the time. Fiction, lots of books, the classics, everything. I loved young adult fiction as well, so just lots the books. I also journaled a lot. And at that age, at that time, I also had a lot of lucid dreams where I could take action during my dreams. I had control in my dreams. So I would write down my dreams. I would write down my thoughts, my wishes, things that I wanted to have happen, things that I thought were going to happen. And then also, I was very artistic as a child. So I would draw a lot. I would make a lot of art and just be really creative. So those were some ways that I was able to channel my feelings in a productive way. But again, those are solo activities, right? Like
Yeah,
unless you're making art with someone or writing with someone or reading with someone, it's an introspective, introverted type of activity for sure.
it is. But I love that. Oh my God, I'm like falling in love with you.
we're we're sold like two of the same
Yeah.
soul, right? Yeah, I feel it. And it's
Um,
funny, you wear glasses. Like it reminds me, I wore glasses for most
oh,
of my
really?
life. Yeah, like since second grade. And I mean, you probably know, you've probably worn them your whole life too. Like that's another thing that sets us apart is the glasses.
Yeah.
And then I wore contacts for a long time. And then I finally got uh corrective surgery for
Oh,
my eyes.
wow.
And
Oh,
it's funny, I thought, okay, if I get this surgery, it's gonna change everything, right? It's gonna like totally change my confidence. And what I found out is confidence is an inner thing, right?
mhm.
Doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you have glasses, no glasses, braces, no braces. Like it really comes from knowing who you are, loving who you are,
Oh,
and
yeah,
just owning it. Yeah.
definitely. Um, okay, so my next question for you is, how did you grow into your gifts? So once you started to accept them, um, yeah, from the story that you just shared, has your gifts like basically been like 100% where you kind of like knew in the past that they were there, but maybe you weren't like paying attention to them, and now versus like now when you are paying attention to them, it's like magnified 10x, 100x, whatever x, like, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
how are you? Well, okay, so I guess I just answered my own question. How are you able to manage the, I guess, kind of like the clarity that you're getting now with them being turned on so high and being so aware of them being there?
Yeah. Just with that awareness, things that come in, thoughts that I have, I'm just curious about it now. Like I don't get anxious, I don't get worked up or freak out. If I get a vision or an intuitive hit, I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Where did that come from? Like, is this message for me? Is this for someone else? And I just have fun with it now. And it's kind of like a game. Like, what messages does the universe have for me today? What's going to come through in my intuition today? And just getting excited about it, playing around with it. Just having fun.
I feel that's so important too, because I feel like a lot of times, like I definitely feel like as a healer, like there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with that because you're helping people and you're being of service, but you also have to remember that you're the guide and that it's coming through you and that you're not the source of it. Um,
Mhm.
so that's just, yeah, learning to have fun with it is is just so, it feels really good to me because it can be kind of hard depending on like the level of sensitivity that you're at.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
And of
yeah.
course there's lots of different tools, and I've learned this throughout my spiritual journey in working with other spiritual coaches and then becoming a coach myself. There's lots and lots of different tools we can use, right? Like I wear a crystal. This is a clear quartz crystal. I wear it to help filter out other people's energies so I can discern, is this mine or is this theirs, and
Mhm.
create like separation between that. And there's other crystals people use, um, meditation, sound therapy, Reiki, chakra work. Like there's all kinds of things we can do to protect ourselves psychically. And is that even a word, psychically?
Yeah.
And also rebalance and recharge our energies for sure.
No, definitely. So at what point did you realize that your intuitive gifts were here to stay? One, I mean, they always are here to stay. And at what point did you realize that they were meant for a greater purpose?
Oh, okay. So there's layers to this, right? Like we know that last year, age 29, I woke up like hardcore to it and stopped pushing it down, like stopped trying to ignore it. But before that, I knew that my experiences were for a greater good in having essentially a mental breakdown, having an epic panic attack, as I call it. When I was working as an assistant store manager, fresh out of college, started working retail
Gosh.
management for a major retailer. I know it's crazy. I can't believe I did that. And that was so out of alignment with who I was and what I wanted to be and like what I was supposed to be doing on this earth, that it created like dis-ease, like disease is dis-ease within the body, super anxious, super stressed out, super depressed, and like started getting physically sick, all kinds of infections and just weird stuff going on in my body. And that was really hard. Like people talk about a rock bottom experience, it's like their wake up call. That was for me the wake up call that like when I was there in the ER having just had a panic attack, I didn't know what it was. That was to me proof that okay, there's got to be something different, and I didn't just go through that to just like ignore it.
Yeah.
So I knew I knew that like I was meant for something more. I knew that what I was going through was to help others go through that same thing, to guide them through that experience and to help ease their burden so they wouldn't have to suffer the way that I did in that situation. That was several years before I received my activation. But yeah, it's a journey of unfolding your soul's purpose and really tuning into that.
I love that. That's so good. Okay. So moving on to the next question. Um, I've personally have seen like quite a few people who are like sensitive in terms of like empathic but also intuitive on the creative career paths. And usually that's like whether it's like owning your own business, so it could be like coaching or reading cards or even like creating art, um, or expressing themselves in performances like through dance or acting.
Mm.
um, I've also seen them work in like healing practices, obviously is like a big one, especially like in the holistic field and even in the Western idea of therapy. um, I personally think that our sensitivity, considering how open-hearted we are naturally and how empathic we are to people, to like on a different like level, um, is a good asset for these fields, especially I feel if you're going to be a coach. So could you explain how you use your empathic side and your intuitive side to help your clients in a coaching session?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. So for the empathic side of things, I found that it's really helped me develop my generous spirit, like my heart chakra, and just my sense of compassion. And especially because we tend to judge in other people what we judge in ourselves. So when I encounter judgment, or I have a negative thought about something, or something a client's going through and I have a judgment call on it, it really makes me look at, what have you experienced in your own life that is similar, that is really calling out for attention here, right? And usually it's something that I'm working on, or I need to heal in myself, that I can then have compassion for myself and then share that compassion, share that healing with them. So I feel like my ability to know what they're feeling, to feel what they're feeling, opens up that channel for digging down into the root cause of it and then healing it so that we can both move on in a very positive and productive way. And then for the, I guess, intuitive or psychic side of things, I often see things in them that they don't see in themselves, specifically with their mission, their vision, and their higher self. Like, I can really see, it's kind of like this floating entity above them of the best version of themselves, but they're
Hmm.
not quite there yet. Like, they don't see it the way that I
Yeah.
see it. And so I help bring that vision alive for them according to their core values and their beliefs, bringing that about in a very aligned way.
When you say bringing that vision alive, what does that mean? Does that mean like writing it out? Is it like a vision board kind of thing? Or is it something like, is it like an energetic container that you hold and like describe to them what you see?
All of the above, all of the above. So piecing together things that they share with me about what they believe in and what they value and what their priorities are, and like how they want to be spending their time, and if time and money didn't matter, like what would they be doing, and like pulling out the the primary purpose. Because often, and I really feel like this is another root cause of the anxiety and depression piece, is that we settle for just what we can do or what we think we're capable of versus what we were designed for, what we're destined for, like our purpose. And being able to bring that about in the ways that you've just described, whether that's meditating or journaling or creating a vision board or setting goals, but doing it in a way that fits for them, because not everyone is going to enjoy every process, right? Not everyone wants to sit down and journal. Not everyone wants to sit down and meditate. So just
Right.
really tuning into, what are they telling me? What do they need to hear? Like, how can we bring their vision for their life in a way that's aligned with, not that I'm controlling the situation, like you have to be this better version, but it's like, I know what their heart's desire is. I can see it, I can feel it, and then
Hmm.
helping that come alive.
That's amazing. And um, out of that, like, how do you learn how to kind of like separate between, them and like taking on their stuff versus, making sure that you have like energetic integrity and that you make sure that you're basically like set and good and like clear after a coaching session? Because I feel like when you're sitting down and you're working with someone personally, like one on one, sometimes we tend to pick up stuff. Well, not sometimes, most of the time. So, is there any like self care, like rituals that you do or practices that you do after a session or before a session to make sure that you're like, okay, I'm good?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good thing. So my thing is, I don't like to rush. I really don't. I don't like to rush into something. I don't like to rush out of something. I don't like to rush during something. I feel like it throws off the whole energetic balance. It puts us in a space of not really being present, not really being focused, right? So one of the things that I do to really clear that energy is to create buffer before and after an appointment. So at least 10 to 15 minutes before, to just clear my head, sit in stillness, meditate, or just simply be. So that gets me clear, ready to hold that energetic space for them. And then 10 to 15 minutes after, to get rid of any energy that I may have picked up during the call. And for me, like clearing that energy is super, super simple. Again, just sitting, like being, drinking lots of water. You may have seen I've already taken a bunch of water. And also, like, if I feel like a particular call was like super thick, like super heavy, I always try and end on a positive note. So if we are working through something and it's like getting really deep, maybe there's tears being shed and there's like lots of transformation happening, always trying to leave things on a higher note so that we can both end the call feeling really uplifted and empowered versus like, oh, that was super heavy. I don't know like what I'm gonna do now.
Mhm.
And of course, like go to, if all else fails, birds of sage or some Palo Santo, and that'll definitely clear things up.
Okay. And what was the most challenging thing that you needed to learn about your intuitive gifts? Like, is that like setting energetic boundaries and enforcing them? Is it, um, maintaining like your own energetic health in the way that you described? Um, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that comes to mind is not everyone is going to understand.
Mm,
Like I spent so much time and energy trying to feel validated, like trying to get people to see it from my perspective, for them to understand my sensitivity. And ultimately, what I realized is that they couldn't understand what they couldn't feel.
yeah.
So I can't expect them to like know what I know because they don't feel what I feel.
Hmm.
And when I release that expectation of people understanding me, when I say people, usually we're most affected by the people close to us, like our friends, our family, our spouse, our partner. And when I let go of that expectation of them understanding me, I gained a greater sense of love and acceptance for myself, because I realized that validation, that desire for validation for them to understand me, was rooted in me not having fully accepted that gift for myself.
Mm, that's so deep. And it's so true because yeah, because we have to be the ones to basically like stand up for ourselves and say,
Mhm.
okay, this is with me for life. Even if I try to shut it down, it's with me for life. So I have to make a decision if I'm gonna support myself and loving myself with this, because it's not gonna go away. I know I tried. And other people have tried. Um, or is it something that we can embrace and also use to help change the world and help other people? So but that
Exactly.
is so profound. And if I take that quote, I am going to give you full credit for it, because I feel like that's going to be an Instagram post that I'm going to make.
You can tag me, girl, always.
Tag you. Yeah, definitely, no worries about that. um okay, and my last question for you is, if you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what age would that be? And two, what would you tell her?
Mm, I feel like I have a couple couple of messages. Um, Let me see if I can refine this a little bit more. I would tell my 21-year-old self, which is when I experienced my panic attack being a retail manager, I would tell her that everything's going to be okay. That
Mm,
even though you can't feel it or see it right now, it's going to work out greater, so much better than you could have ever imagined.
it's beautiful. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people need to hear that.
Yeah. And it's so, I mean, once you start looking into energy and how it works in our energy field, like it's hard. Like when you're struggling, when you're experiencing the day-to-day drudge of life, like of course you're not going to see that big vision. because you're all blocked up. Like
Mhm.
you got you got blockages. So as you continue to work on yourself and open up those channels, you start unfolding that vision. I mean, you can't help but get excited when you start seeing all of the good things manifesting in your life and all of the blessings that the universe is bringing. Like it's super exciting.
Definitely. And I listen to a lot of Matt Kahn. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's
Mm,
a spiritual teacher that he's on YouTube. Love him because he channels messages and you can just feel your energy shift whether you're with him in person or you listen to his videos. And the thing with like going through hardships, if I believe I'm trying to see if I can get this right. Um, he mentions that those are opportunities for the soul to expand
mm,
and also like yeah going through that you're experiencing like it's already like divinely there for you to experience but to not like curse the fact that it's there. And
mhm,
he's really helped a lot of people come to like this gentle like self-acceptance of having you know just a profound like acceptance for what it is they're going through. Like he's helped people transition from like terminal illnesses, and in their moment of transition, they were able to kind of like be okay with the fact that that's how they were gonna end up going. And it's just so it's so profound, and it's just yeah, he's amazing. Um, Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure it's gonna help a lot of people because that's the intention.
thank you for the opportunity to share. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and where can people find you? And I know you have a sisterhood community, gorgeous offering that you're offering people. And I would love if you could like speak on that, and maybe whoever's watching this will find some help in that.
Sure. Yeah. So right now I am launching my Soul Sisterhood. This will be the second round that we're doing it. And it's really all about helping women, spiritual women entrepreneurs, learn how to tap further into their intuition and use the law of attraction in order to achieve their goals and manifest their desires and really transform their life. Because I know, in at least what I've seen in the business world, having worked for 15 years, there is so much masculine energy out there that it makes us feel less than. It makes us feel unworthy. And we feel like we have to do all these things in order to be successful. So, what I do is shift that and show women how to really tune into their own feminine power and then use that to grow their business in a very authentic and aligned way.
Thank you so much. And is there ongoing like is it an open door policy like throughout the year, or is there like a set time where um like up until this date and then like it closes for like the next 6 months, 3 months, a year?
Right. Yeah. So this next round starts April 1st, and then we will be running for 6 months. I may or may not open it again in 3 months to have some crossover. So stay tuned. If you want to learn more and find out when the next enrollment is opening, you can follow me at Psychic Starbuck on any of the platforms. I'm pretty much everywhere.
And I'm putting all the information in the description box below. So if you guys want to connect with Nicole, definitely check her out on Instagram. That's how we connected. And yeah, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.